Yeah, they were both horrible, Jenna. Both of them got hurt in the standings. Now they're tied with the teams they lost to. And New Orleans and Charlotte both have the tiebreaker over them. They both lost big leads as well. But I'm going to say the Lakers' loss was worse. All right, they lost to a worse team. All right, and they gave up a bigger lead, 23 points, whereas the Nets led by 14 early in the first half. And the Nets can at least look back and say, you know what? We've been playing good basketball. This is a blip on the radar. They've won 7 of their last 10. They beat Philadelphia, Utah. They beat some good teams, a healthy Miami team. So they've beaten good teams lately. Kyrie, first game back in the Barclays Center, shot poorly, obviously. Nerves may have been a part of that. He obviously came up big down the stretch, but it wasn't enough. So I think they can look at reasons for not only why they played poorly yesterday, but why they're in the position they're in. All right, Kyrie's been out. KD was hurt at times. Whereas the Lakers, this is just who they are. All right, this is who they are. Losing to bad and mediocre teams, blowing big leads, can't get a stop when they need to. And here's the final thing and why I say it's the Lakers, Nick. Their star, superstar, LeBron, was limping after the game. Now, I don't think he's that hurt. He scored 28 points in 31 minutes after the ankle injury. But still, he was limping in the hallway after the game. Neither KD nor Kyrie was doing that. So I think that seals the deal, Nick. It's got to be the Lakers.
Here, okay, listen, the Lakers lost, every week they find a new comical low. Biggest game of the season, biggest halftime lead of the year, and they lose anyway. They are now big underdogs to make the playoff field, and I would say, in my opinion, given their schedule, worse than a coin flip to even make the play-in field. However, win or lose this game, the Lakers are drawing dead. While it is a worse loss for the Nets, flatly because the Nets keep showing us who they are, and only Nick Wright will believe them. I'm the only person in America, it seems, that believes the Nets aren't total liars. Because the Nets, Kyrie's back, first game at Barclays, a very important game for the standings, and they lose. The Nets this morning are the favorites to win the East and the second biggest favorites to win the title. So theoretically, this is a championship contending team. So all of their games have vastly more meaning. And they keep showing us, championship contending team, that they might not make the playoff field themselves. If you can watch last night's game at Barclays and say with any level of confidence, oh, I know the Nets will be fine in the play-in, you're watching something different than me. I can't say that. I can't say Trae Young couldn't send them home for the year. So, of course it's a worse loss for the Nets because we're supposed to still believe the Nets not only can win the East, but are the favorites to win the East. And so I think these are two teams that occupy the same place in reality, but such a different place in the minds of sports fans that it's a reality-bearing loss for Brooklyn.
Nick, stop it. Stop it. All right, I'm with you that the Nets aren't the favorite. They should not be the favorite in the East. You got to give Milwaukee some respect. And heck, Boston's taken our respect. We have to give them respect at this point. So I'll give you those two teams. But don't tell me there's another team in the East that, you got to say is better than the Nets at this point. You're right in that in a one-and-done situation, St. Peter's has reminded us, right, that anything can happen. So, yeah, you get in a one-and-done, all bets are off. However, the Nets definitely have a much better chance of making a deep playoff run. And while they're not favored, they have more of a chance to get to the finals or win the East than the Lakers have a win in the West.
They're both at 0%.
I still think
0%.
No. The Nets are not at 0%. No. There is no reason to believe the Nets are at 0%. That's ridiculous. That's just Kyrie hate. That's all that is. Wilds. That's all that is.
No, hold on. No, wait, hold on. Guys,
that's all that
real
is.
quick.
A jab at the end.
Is Charlotte at 0%?
Go.
In your opinion, is Charlotte 0% to make the finals.
So
I would say yes.
But because Charlotte beat them last night, that means they're better than the Nets? Really?
No.
Well, it's
no, because
they
have an identical record. Because we're 75 games in and they're the same. That's why it's not last night.
And Kevin Durant's
it's that we're
been
75
injured.
games in, and at some point,
Kyrie Irving's been a part-time player.
You
Nick.
are who you are. Okay.
Oh, stop
he might
we
still
don't
be.
know.
I think he
This
took
is
last
not
night
who
off.
the Nets are.
Nobody told him why.
The literal definition.
Got to play the first 3 quarters.
Go ahead, Wiles. Set him straight.
First of all, I'm still looking. Also, if Ben Simmons comes back, I have moved my Ben Simmons comeback meter up to 7%. So I was down at it was at 100, then I went down to 0. I'm slowly moving forward. But Nick, I viewed that game. I was interested in it to see what the ovation was for Kyrie and how Kyrie would play. But that was the same team that just destroyed the Miami Heat in Miami. That team looked great. Andre Drummond throwing up deuces. That team looked amazing. Guys. So I thought it was just an odd away-home, back-to-back scheduling quirk rather than a cause for concern. You think that if they had a day of rest, it's Kyrie's, I think maybe second back-to-back game of the whole year?
It was his first back-to-back.
I thought there was too many weird things. Was it his first one? So look, I think it was just a scheduling quirk. I still believe in the Nets.
Oh my gosh. Just a scheduling quirk. The mean, awful NBA that the Nets had a back-to-back, like every team has had multiple times all year. And they had the brutal flight of Miami to New York City. None of us have made that in 2 hours and 45 minutes on JetBlue 1,000 times rather than on a chartered flight. Give me a break. Stop it. Like, the idea that Brooklyn is something other than they keep showing us they are. And here's the thing. Brew, you're saying a one-and-done scenario, anything can happen. Let me tell you something. Right. The best thing that could possibly happen to Brooklyn would be if the NBA playoffs were a one-and-done scenario for each round. Then they could win the title. Because Wildes is right. Any given night, they can look like the best team in basketball. Any given night, they can look amazing. But the problem is you've got to win 4 out of 7. And the idea that Brooklyn can put together 2 good weeks of basketball and then do it again and then do it again to win the East is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. You got to put together 6 straight good weeks of basketball. They have no shot of doing it. We have no evidence of it. Brew, the games have to matter at some point.
As long as there's no back-to-backs.
Don't the games have to matter?
Why didn't the game at Miami matter? How about that game matter?
They all matter.
Nick, you can't act like this is the Nets team we've been watching all year. You can't. Kyrie Irving is back. That makes a difference. He's been part-time. He's been out of rhythm. He's been out of rhythm with his teammates. And again, I'm not saying they're going to win the East. I'm just saying to totally write them off, say no chance, that's ridiculous.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.